Your emotions are the slave to your thoughts, and you are the slave of your emotions. Good day, I am King Jake L. Udin, and today I will be introducing our topic, the emotion, aggression, and stress. To start up, let's proceed to emotion. So first, we are going to define emotion. What is emotion? So, emotion is a complex, multidimensional psychological and physiological reaction to a particular stimulus, circumstance, or event. So, it involves subjective emotions like happiness, sadness, fear, anger, or love that are frequently accompanied by physiological changes like breathing, heart rate, and facial expressions, cognitive processes like situation assessment and interpretation, and also behavioral tendencies like actions or facial expressions. So, upon reading the definition of emotion, we can say that emotion is not a simple topic or a shallow topic as what we have uh, expected it to be. Honestly, at first, I really thought emotion is just a shallow topic, but upon studying psychology, specifically biological psychology, I realized that emotion cannot be simply defined since it has a lot of theories about emotion, and uh, there are a lot of process before you can actually define an emotion. But later on, we will discuss that, and we can all conclude how complex emotion is. But right now, let's proceed to another perspective of the definition of emotion. So, according to Plutchik 1982, defined emotion as the combination of subjective and autonomic alterations, autonomic and neural arousal, and impulses to action. Mababasa natin dito na na-mention ang autonomic alterations. And when we say autonomic, this is related to our nervous system, or specifically, this is the autonomic nervous system. Since we have already mentioned the nervous system, now let us try to discover or learn what is the relationship of the nervous system and emotion. So let's proceed to our next topic, which we can further analyze the relationship between emotion and uh, the autonomic nervous system. So now the next topic is emotions, autonomic arousal, and theories of emotion. But first, we are going to discuss the relationship of emotions and autonomic arousal. Autonomic arousal. So, the sympathetic and parasympathetic branches of the autonomic nervous system are activated by emotional stimuli. So, ang ibig sabihin nitong autonomic arousal, ito yung pag-activate ng ating ANS or the autonomic nervous system. So, which has two branches, the sympathetic and the parasympathetic. So, from the previous topic, from the first topic, we have already discussed about the nervous system. So I think you are already familiar with the sympathetic and parasympathetic nervous system. And I think you all know that our sympathetic nervous system is the one responsible for our fight or flight response. So if activated ang ating sympathetic nervous system, gina-prepare niya ang katawan natin to a fight or flight response from a danger or a dangerous situation. And also, nag-ascend din siya ng adrenaline hormones galing sa ating adrenal gland, again, to prepare our body for a fight or flight response sa isang situation. So, just like, for example, yung situation na nakita ko before, I read it on social media, and it says na may mag-ina na nadisgrasya, and na natagilid yung sasakyan nila. But then, yung mama is nakalabas siya ng sasakyan. But yung anak niya is naiwan sa loob ng sasakyan. And because of her worry, no, the mom is very worried sa kanyang, that is her emotion. She is worrying. So, of course, if she's worrying, maybe her sympathetic nervous system activated and released a lot of adrenaline hormones. Believe it or not, she was able to turn the car back to its original position just to get her child from the car. So that is an example of the sympathetic nervous system acting. And after that, yung nagapakalma naman sa atin after a very stressful situation is our parasympathetic nervous system. So it relaxes our body. It also the one responsible for regulating our sleep. But in emotion, back to the topic, emotions and physical arousal are according to some research, it is connected with each other kasi it's either preceding ng fear ang physiological arousal or preceding ng physical arousal ang fear. But in our common sense of view and our own view, halimbawa, we are in a frightening situation. Let's say, bombing. So, narinig natin na may bomb. So, that is a frightening situation. So, our normal response would be matatakot tayo, we will become frightened. So, the emotion that we're feeling is fear. And if we feel fear, we tend to run away with an increased heart rate. And yan yung relationship ng emotion. See the relationship of emotion and the physiological arousal. So, first, we experience an external stimulus. So, the stimulus here is yung bomb. And then, we feel an emotion, which is the fear. And because of that fear, matrigger ang ating ANS or ang ating autonomic nervous system. And because matrigger siya, our sympathetic nervous system will prepare our body for a fight or flight response, which causes us to have an increased heart rate and a heightened physical skills. So, maaring mabilis tayong tumakbo, and as I've mentioned kanina, yung mother na nabaliktad niya yung sasakyan niya because of her worry na nandun pa rin sa loob yung anak niya, yung mga ganun na mga situation is an example of the autonomic nervous system activating because of an emotion. Now let's jump to different theories of emotion. So we will discuss 3 different theories, and these are the James-Lange theory, the Cannon-Bard theory, and the Schachter-Singer theory. Now let's talk about James-Lange theory. So according to James-Lange theory, emotions are the outcome of certain physiological reactions to outside stimuli. So dito, sa kanyang theory, nauuna yung stimulus, susunod ang physiological arousal before mangyari ang isang emotion. So sa example dito, ang stimulus natin is a growling dog. So because a dog is growling, our normal response would be the dog is angry, so kaya kakabahan tayo, and our body will prepare for a fight or flight response kasi a growling dog can indicate that the dog is angry, and anytime it's either hahabulin or kakagatin ka ng aso. So our nervous system or our brain will consider that as a threat. So it will send a signal to our nervous system, and our nervous system will prepare us for a fight or flight response. So could be dilated pupils para mas makita natin yung reactions from the dog, and also ipe-prepare niya yung body natin if ever na we need to run, mga ganon. So those are the example of physiological arousal. And dahil nga na na-feel mo yung kaba, that's why na-label mo yung feelings mo, you are scared or you are frightened. So therefore, the emotion that you're feeling is fear. To make it simple, yung theory na ito, to make us identify an emotion, we need to first have a physiological arousal. So yun yung ini-imply ng James-Lange theory. So, hindi nauuna ang emotion before ang physiological arousal. So that is what they believe. But if we discuss another theory, which is the Cannon-Bard theory, it opposes the James-Lange theory. So, hindi agree ang Cannon-Bard theory sa concept ng James-Lange theory. Kasi, if sa James-Lange theory, nauna ang isang process, before mo ma-identify ang isang process, dito naman sa Cannon-Bard theory, walang nauna at walang nahuli. So, according to their theory, emotions are not solely the result of physiological responses, but rather, both emotions and physiological changes occur simultaneously in response to emotional stimuli. So, sa kanilang theory, sabay daw nagaganap yung emosyon ng isang tao and kanyang physiological arousal. So, for example, the stimulus here again is a growling dog. And since nakakita tayo ng growling dog, so as I've said earlier, we consider it as a threat or a danger kasi nga a growling dog is an angry dog, and an angry dog can chase or maybe bite you. So if that is considered as danger of our brain, then it is normal for us to be frightened. But at the same time, it will cause a physiological arousal. So, walang nauna and walang nahuli. If we are exposed to a stimulus, a dangerous stimulus, such as this growling dog, sabay tayong makaka-feel ng takot, which is ang emotion natin. Sabay tayong makaka-feel ng emotion and physiological arousal. So, walang nauna and walang nahuli. Sabay nating mafe-feel ang kaba and ang takot. So that is what the Cannon-Bard theory implies. So next, let's talk about the Schachter and Singer theory. So sa theory naman ni Schachter and Singer, it somehow connected to the James Lange theory. So parang the same concept but may dinagdag lang sila. So yung dinagdag dito is the cognitive label. So 'di ba, if sa James Lange theory, after the physiological arousal, yung after natin kabahan or if from a danger, we can already label the situation or your emotion as takot or fear. But dito sa Schachter-Singer theory, hindi mo daw immediately na malabel ang something without recognizing kung ano yun. So, according to the Schachter-Singer theory, physiological arousal is insufficient on its own to identify the precise emotion experience. Accurately identifying different emotion depends critically on the cognitive assessment of the circumstance. So, another example na naman. Oh no, this is not another example since it's the same with all the examples. So, the stimulus again is a growling dog, and after that, the physiological arousal. But, ang nakaibahan ng nito, again, from the James Lange theory, is may isa pang process na dagdag, which is the cognitive label. So, dito sa cognitive label, dito mangyayari yung cognitive assessment natin. So, dito mangyayari yung process na pag-a-identify natin sa isang situation if it is good, is it bad, is it frightening, or whatsoever. And after we label that, no, after we assess that, doon na natin makukonclude kung ano ang emotion na mafe-feel natin. So, example dito, stimulus, growling dog, physiological arousal is yun na yung mga kaba mo, yung mafe-feel mo because of the growling dog. And that is caused again by your autonomic nervous system. And because of your physiological arousal, kakabahan ka na. And because of that kaba, you still need to assess your nervousness kung is it good or is it bad or whatsoever. So after you recognize it, after you recognize na that nervousness is dangerous because nga yung stimulus natin is from a dog, then we can label na yung emotion natin is fear. So it has three process: the physiological arousal, cognitive label, and the emotion. So again, just a recap. So in James Lange theory, nauuna ang physiological arousal and susunod ang emotion. And sa Cannon-Bard theory, walang nauna at walang nahuhuli. Sabay natin nafe-feel ang physiological arousal and the emotion itself. And sa Schachter-Singer theory naman, nauuna ang physiological arousal galing sa isang external stimulus. Okay, nauna ang physiological arousal, susunod ang cognitive label. As what I've said earlier, dito natin i-label kung good or bad bang situation before natin siya ma-conclude kung ano ba yung emotion na yon. So, sa example na nandito is fear. So, those are the theories of emotion presented by different psychologists and physiologists. Now that we have already discussed the different theories of emotion and how complex emotion is, as what I've told you, learning emotion is very, and I never really expected na it would really be this complicated to learn emotion. So, now that we have already discussed a part of it, the theories and some of its processes, Now, let us proceed to the brain areas associated with emotion. So, ano ba yung mga parte ng brain natin na somehow connected sa ating pag-feel ng different emotions? So, the part of the brain na associated with our emotion is the limbic system. So, the limbic system has been regarded as a critical for emotion. So, importante siya for us to be able to uh, feel emotions and experience emotions. Ganon. So the limbic system's main tasks include processing and controlling memory and emotion, as well as handling learning and sexual excitement. The limbic system and its zone of the impact are also related to behavior, motivation, and long-term memory and our sense of smell. So those are the functions of the limbic system. So nakapaloob doon yung processing and controlling memory and emotion. So nakapaloob ang emotion sa limbic system. But there are four major components of the limbic system na very connected to emotion. Or when it comes to emotion, these four components of the limbic system, ito yung mga relevant masyado. So we have here the hippocampus, the hypothalamus, the amygdala, and the thalamus. So now let's discuss them one by one and how can they contribute to our sense of emotion. So the first one is hippocampus. So processing of emotional memories and their context depends on the hippocampus. So it facilitates the storing and retrieval of memories connected to emotional encounters. So since ang hippocampus, ito yung nag-keep ng mga memories natin, nakakatulong din siya sa atin to keep specific emotions or like memories na nakatrigger ng ating emotions. And because of this, in the future, we can use those memories to relate ourselves from a specific emotion. So, halimbawa, nung bata ka pa, munti ka nang nahulog sa balon. And along with that memory is fear. Yung emotion na na-feel mo because malapit kang nahulog sa balon is fear. So, ngayon na malaki ka na, if you go near a well, ma-reinforce yung memory mo na yon and ma-recognize mo yung fear mo nung bata ka pa and takot ka pa rin ngayon na lumapit sa isang well kasi nga munti ka nang mahulog sa well noon and natakot ka din noon. So ngayon parang ma-reinforce yung memory mo na yon and alam mo na kung paano i-grasp yung emotion mo na fear. So, alam mo na fear yung nafe-feel mo kasi nga, na-feel mo na siya before. And also, marerelate mo din siya sa ibang tao. So, if halimbawa, yung friend mo, kinwento niya sa'yo na malapit siyang nahulog sa balon and she was very scared, then marerelate mo yung emotion mo sa kanya kasi nga, nangyari na din sa'yo yun and na-feel mo din yung emotion na na-feel niya. So, that is an example of a reinforcement ng hippocampus for our emotion. Now, let's proceed to hypothalamus. So, the autonomic nerve system and the hormone reactions associated with emotions, such as the fight or flight response, are controlled by the hypothalamus. So, yung hypothalamus is a part yan siya ng ating brain na nagagather ng information from our nervous system. Doon siya nagagather ng information sa our nervous system. So, if yung nervous system natin mag-send ng signal na, example, danger, yung sinabi ko kanina, balik tayo sa example ko kanina na yung mother na nadisgrasya sila and yung child niya is naiwan sa sasakyan na nakataob. So, nag-send yung kanyang nervous system ng danger to the hypothalamus. So, yung hypothalamus, ito yung master of hypothalamus is the master regulator of endocrine system. And part ng endocrine system is the adrenal gland. And sa adrenal gland nanggagaling yung adrenaline. So, yung hypothalamus, since master regulator siya ng endocrine system, magsisend siya ng signal sa adrenal gland to release adrenaline hormones. So, yun yung nangyari doon sa nanay. So, nag-send yung hypothalamus ng signal to the adrenal gland na mag-send siya ng adrenaline hormones to release adrenaline hormones para mabuhat nung nanay niya yung sasakyan at para makuha niya yung anak niya sa loob ng sasakyan. So that is an example of the connection of the hypothalamus, nervous system, and the endocrine system. Now let's proceed to the next one, which is the amygdala. So it's common knowledge that brain's emotional center is the amygdala. So it is essential for the processing and control of emotions, so especially those associated with fear and threat. So it also aids in identifying others' emotional and facial expression. So, maybe no, dito sa four major components of limbic system when it comes to emotion, yung amygdala talaga yung parang most relevant when it comes to emotion. Kasi nga, this is regarded as emotional center. So, kasi nga essential ito siya for processing and control of emotions, lalo na yung fear and threat. So, ito yan siya yung nagakontrol ng ating emotion, mostly emotions natin, lalo na yung pagdating sa fear and threat. And also, it also aids in identifying others' emotional facial expression. Kasi nga, when we see someone na parang, yung facial expression ng isang tao, when we see someone na parang shock, so 'di ba? Na-identify natin na yung tao is either shock or takot siya. And when we see someone naman na naka-frown, no, ma-identify din natin na galit ang isang tao. So ang responsible doon kung bakit natin na-identify yung ganun is yung ating amygdala. Kasi nga this is the emotional center. So mostly mga information about sa emotions is galing sa ating amygdala. Now, last but not the least, the thalamus. So the thalamus acts as a center for relaying sensory data, including emotional cues, to other areas of the brain for analysis and interpretation. So, ang example nito is halimbawa, nanonood ka ng sunset. So, habang nanonood ka ng sunset, yung thalamus mo, kasi nga maganda yung sunset, magsisend siya ng signal sa iyong amygdala. And yung amygdala mo naman is mag-release siya ng emotion, no? Yung feel emotion like joy, ganun, o pagkamangha. Yun yung purpose ng thalamus. Parang siya yung siya yung taga-relay. If the amygdala is the emotion center, ito naman si thalamus, siya yung center for relaying sensory data. So, parang siya yung bridge ng information throughout the brain. So, siya yung nagpapasa-pasa ng mga sensory data sa other parts ng brain para for emotional cues. So, sa sinabi ditong emotional cues, ang isang halimbawa talaga dito is yung amygdala. So, yun nga, if nanonood ka ng sunset, the amygdala, influenced by the sensory input relayed by the thalamus, may generate feelings of awe, joy, or tranquility. So, these emotional experiences are what make the moment of witnessing the sunset special and memorable. So, those are the four major components of limbic system when it comes to emotion. And thank you for listening. I hope you learned something from me. And now, let us proceed to another presenter, which is Miss Diana Dimasindil.